Thank you for joining me for another episode of Sobriety Reset. And today we're going to talk about the number one thing you have to do if you want to make sobriety stick. So, if you've been struggling to stay sober, I want to tell you that the number one thing that you have to do is to make sobriety your number one priority. Let me tell you what that means. I get it, you're busy. You have kids, a demanding job, you have lots of goals and obligations. The hard truth is, if you don't make sobriety your number one priority, especially in the beginning, it is very difficult to stay sober. It's imperative that you take care of your mental and emotional needs first. You get on a plane, and the airline stewardess says, if there is an emergency, the oxygen mask will drop, and you have to put your oxygen mask on before you put on your kid's oxygen mask. The point being that if you're incapacitated, if something happens to you, you're going to be of no use to the people that depend on you. Same thing with your sobriety. You have to put your emotional, mental, and physical needs first so that you can better take care of others, but really take care of your sobriety. This means getting up 30 minutes early every morning and doing a self care practice. Things like prayer, meditation, journaling, reading something inspiring, maybe even going for a walk or doing some kind of physical exercise. These are practices I do myself. I've been sober for 31 years and I still have a morning routine of taking care of my mental, spiritual, and emotional needs. After interviewing about 400 people over the last 9 years for my podcast, these are the practices that come up the most. And let's just talk about physical needs for just a moment. Making sobriety your number one priority includes getting enough rest, eating well, especially prioritizing protein, especially later in the day when willpower is at its lowest. And of course, exercise. Exercise is great because not only does it provide you with stress relief, but it's a great way to stimulate and release these neurotransmitters like endorphins. These are pain relieving chemicals that also produce a sense of euphoria and well being. And everybody talks about dopamine. When you drink a lot of alcohol, you have flooded your brain with dopamine. And then that's why a lot of people experience boredom when they first get sober. Exercise is a great way to replace some of that dopamine. It also increases your level of serotonin, which is actually known as the feel-good hormone. It improves mood and reduces your stress. It also enhances glutamine, which enhances brain function and memory. The point being, when you take care of your physical needs, you have an overall better chance of staying sober. I want to talk a little bit about reducing stressors. You might have toxic family members, maybe you have a difficult relationship, maybe you have health issues, money concerns, problems with your ex-partner. The goal, especially in early sobriety, when you're making sobriety your number one priority, is to minimize some of these stressors. It might mean setting boundaries with some people, like limiting your exposure to them. It might be learning how to communicate, like stating your needs without blame or judgment. Putting sobriety first also means that you put your needs before any relationship or obligation. And I'll just give you a couple examples. We're coming up on holiday season, and some people feel obligated to spend time with their toxic family members who drink a lot or even pressure them to drink. What I'm suggesting is that maybe you limit your exposure to those people or choose not to spend time with them. Maybe there's obligations at work to socialize and go out. Putting your sobriety first means that maybe you actually tell some people that you're not drinking. Maybe you have an exit strategy, like you bring your own car and make sure that you can leave when you need to. I would also suggest dedicating some time for self-improvement. Maybe you're reading some self-help books, maybe you're listening to some podcasts, and really just feeding your brain some good information on how to stay sober, how to manage relationships, and maybe even consider getting some support during this process. When you're making sobriety your number one priority, you're spending time doing activities, taking actions that are really going to support your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. So I highly recommend finding a sober community. It can be 12-step oriented. You can go to church. There's Facebook groups. There's all kinds of communities for people who are trying to live alcohol free. Here's the issue. Sometimes people dismiss these practices as not being super impactful because they're free, they're cheap, they're easy. But if you haven't been able to make sobriety stick, I want you to reconsider that some of these practices might be the missing piece that you need. So those are just some ideas on how to make sobriety your number one priority. It really has to come before anything else. Over the 31 years that I've been sober, The people who really make it a priority are the ones who go the distance. So that's kind of my hot take on how to make sobriety last by making it your number one priority. And if you have any questions, I'm here to help.